Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is February the 1st, 2022. My, how time flies when you're in a pandemic.
Yes.
I've got joining me today, Brasco on the radio. What's going on, Brasco? How are you, buddy?
Doing good. And we didn't get a chance to say this last week, but we needed to go and talk and give a little love to who's doing the work behind the scenes for us, Ricky, our producer who does this and is running the switches. Wanted to go ahead and thank you for doing it and
Yeah,
being here.
that's right. He is back there behind the switches. He could turn his camera on, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah. That's why we say behind the scenes.
He is behind the scenes, and we definitely appreciate Ricky. So I'm gonna pack a bowl here. Anybody else want to smoke with us? You're welcome. This is Cannabis Radio Live. So of course, you might want to smoke a little cannabis while we do a little update.
It is
Um,
encouraged.
it is encouraged. Okay, so we've got some news to talk about. We got full slate of some interesting shit to talk about. I'm gonna say. Uh, First up. Can you imagine this? Brasco, they're going to have to start destroying weed in New Jersey. Can you believe this?
I absolutely believe it. The truth is, it's going on in Canada. Same idea. The fact that it's starting here now doesn't surprise me at all. Been hearing this ever since they started legalizing.
Okay, so for those of you who are like, what the hell is going on? So here's the deal. New Jersey legalizes, right, a year ago, right? Here we are a year later. They still have no regulatory framework, right? So they can't sell all the product. Now, these guys, they have ramped up employees. They, hired a bunch of, and we're talking like some of the big MSOs, the Veranos of the world, the Curaleafs of the world, and these are major players. But the government, or the standing committee that they created, what do they call that thing? There's always one of these little.
By the way, Verano and Curaleaf, I've actually interviewed both of them on Blunt Business. Just so you know.
So it's the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Anytime you have regulatory commission in the same name, that you know you're going to have issues. So what these guys are pointing fingers back at the license holders, right? Verano, Curaleaf, variety of others. They're pointing the finger at them and saying, "Well, we're not turning on rec until you can prove to us that you can properly grow with the market, that you can serve all of your shareholders. And when we say serve them, we mean you've got plenty of product back there to serve the market." Now, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission says they ain't got enough product.
Yeah.
But George, they've built temporary storage vaults on top of the ones that they thought they would just need on just a normal Tuesday. But they've built more, right? And they're full now. So,
Right.
and as most of you know, cannabis doesn't keep very long, and a couple of months is gone.
Perishable.
I mean,
Yes.
if you're storing it good, great, right? But you're getting a couple of months out of it, and then it's going to start to go south of cheese. And when that happens, forget it. You're losing all
Can
that
I
money.
tell you, Darren? I actually interviewed on Blunt Business. I interviewed an attorney, Jessica Gonzalez, and she's with the Office of Wrestler Amory and Ross. And I remember talking to her about the fact about when Jersey legalized, they had a bill that was going to decriminalize all marijuana, and only cannabis could be bought in a New Jersey store. But yet, marijuana wasn't even decriminalized yet. So you had to be able to go and get it in the store, but then anything else is considered marijuana and it's illegal. Like it didn't make any sense.
I mean,
The
listen,
whole thing is backwards over there.
it I think a part of the problem is people are saying, unless you're decisive about it and you assert your framework out of the gate, forget it, right? This is holding true. New York, right? Brandy and I were just in New York not long ago.
Your wife,
And
Brandy, just
my wife
context.
Brandy, for those of you who don't know, and partner here at Cannabis Radio, and I can tell you, it's a complete shit show in New York.
Yes.
You're able to walk up and buy weed out of a truck that used to be a food truck has been modified. Now it's completely different, so they can sell weed out of. Um, or better yet, walk into a head shop, right, to get some papers and go, Is that weed back? Oh, you guys sell weed here at a head shop? Really? Oh, there's nobody telling you you can't? Is that the drill?" And that was really what was going on, right, like, there's nobody out there telling them that they can't. So, like, I guess the rule of thumb here is get your shit together, Jersey, right? New York, without a framework that's ready to go, that's problematic, right? Arizona, they had a framework. Basically, they were like Illinois. They just flipped the switch, right? One day it was illegal, and the next it wasn't, right? And they basically operated under the existing structure. And uh, so here all these
Yep.
guys are now sitting on all this weed, and it's going to go
And
bad. They're going
if
to have to
they,
kill it. They're going to have to destroy
Aaron,
it
if they
all.
don't figure this out, here's what's going on. I'm saying Canada because of the fact that, you know, in 2018, they had to destroy over 11 tons of cannabis. And then they had to go in, it's increased every year.
Oh yeah,
So they're saying,
in
according to
Canada.
MJ Biz, cannabis producers in Canada have sold less than 20% of their output since legalization in fall 2018. So for every kilogram of legal cannabis, 8 kilograms are destroyed. That's where things are going if New Jersey doesn't get their shit together.
Yeah, true, true. Okay, we're going to move on really quickly. So Jersey, come on, guys, seriously,
Step it up.
step it up. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer held a meeting with a variety of marijuana reform and advocacy groups this past week, talking about social equity issues, and essentially he's preparing the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. Essentially, this is his version of federal cannabis legislation, and essentially is making his platform around this particular act, um, really like building it on social equity, right? And essentially saying they're taking their time with filing this, um, because they want to get it right the first time. They don't want to kind of go into it half cocked. And I think, as we all know, we've seen, laws that have gotten rolled out that have not taken social equity into account, but lots of lawsuits filed that they've got to go back and rework it. And so essentially, I think there's something to be said for wanting to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And right, they're taking their. I mean, what do you think, George?
I give a lot of credit to Chuck Schumer. I can't believe that this guy flipped so many years ago because he thought, oh, this was going to ruin states when they brought it in the market. And they saw how Colorado did so well and
Yeah.
how profitable it was. And he's like, you know what? I was wrong. He admitted he was wrong. And then he's been on a quest now with Ron Wyden and Cory Booker to try to get something passed. He tried to insert this into the National Defense Authorization Act and they pulled it out. Like he's finding a way
Which
to try
is
to insert into a bill. That's
right.
amazing.
Well, which is essentially where like the banking is still is. I suppose we kind of walk over. Well, we'll cover banking at the end. Essentially, the funny part about all these
Yeah.
different, laws and regs and whatever, like they will write some legislation and they'll go try and tuck it into this bill or that bill. And okay, it gets past the House. Let's hope it passes the Senate as well.
Mhm.
Um, Look, I think first and foremost, they're out there working with advocacy rights groups. They're trying to truly wrap their head around what needs to be done at the federal level to get caught up with what's going on at the state level, really is kind
Yeah.
of, if you want to look at it like that. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. So that just for those of you following the national legislation thing, that's out there. It's moving slowly still. So hopefully, hopefully we'll see something move there soon.
Well, see, he's how well it's
So
doing in New York, and he's working a lot on it. It's in his own vested interest in his own state for this
yeah,
to get through. Yeah.
that's true. That's true. George, do you drive when you're high?
No, but I see every billboard along the interstate that talks about, oh, driving while high. Like that's the new thing now.
It's the new thing. Okay, 18 states have legalized, 13 have decriminalized, and 36 have medical cannabis laws. Of course, this was going to be a thing, right? Um, but I think it's interesting. There's this study that was being done, um, and they were looking at the difference between um, you know, uh, experienced cannabis users and completely inexperienced cannabis users, and then the differences between like potency of strain, right? And you know what they came up with? It just doesn't matter. You shouldn't be driving when you're high. I mean, basically is what it is. It didn't matter whether or not it was super potent or moderately potent. The impacts on driving were the same in the first 90 minutes. So, I George, it never ceases to amaze me that people want to have this conversation and talk about the effects of and should I be and what have you. I think the
Well, for
bottom
the
line is
record,
is if you're impaired, don't get behind the damn wheel.
right now
It's
in
that
the
simple.
study, they gave the study people Delta 9 THC, which is something you can access now in a lot of places, anywhere in a lot of states now, because there's that loophole thing, just like Delta 8 was, that you
Yeah,
can buy it at like head shops and things like that. So they're just
yeah,
making it so it's easily accessible. The other part is they talked about how what didn't really affect anybody when you have a tolerance to driving after you've smoked. So, like, imagine if you do it yourself, Darren, and you have a tolerance to it. You have, it's like you're already used to it. You know how
right.
you're affected. It's not like a foreign object that's going to make you, impaired. Right now, after you get done with that, 30 minutes later, if it's somebody that just had it and they're not really used to it, yeah, they're impaired.
Sure, they're
But if
impaired.
you're used to it, you're
If you're
not.
used to it, but here's the deal. They actually found that you still are. You still
Yeah.
are, right? Even though you're a seasoned, daily user, if you will, you still get impaired. Now, there's some thoughts here. Let's see. Mark Dean has a question. He says, "What are your thoughts on states like North Carolina that don't even have medical?" Okay, so look, there's gonna be these states that they just haven't caught up yet, right? Um, you should do whatever you can in your state to help your lawmakers understand they're missing out on opportunity, as well as helping underprivileged communities, communities that have been disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. Um, there's tons of opportunity. The tax revenue, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. And so a lot of states that haven't yet made the crossover, they're still holding on to some of those old political ties and ideas. And it takes everyday people just getting up and going in front of your city council, going to the state house,
Right now, I
meeting
can
your
tell you,
your elected officials
Darren,
and
I
having
can't
this
tell you.
conversation.
In North Carolina, they have a bill they're trying to get up to the Senate to vote. Like there's already a bill that's been written. It's on up to the legislation, and it would include, you know, where medical marijuana would be legalized for cancer, HIV, AIDS, severe PTSD in North Carolina. And it's this year right now. They're trying to get everything set up. Um, but now they're right now the legislature's working on redistricting and the state budget, but it's in the bill there. So it's
Yeah,
like you just got to push the legislators. They already have something in
it's in the
place. They got a
works. It's in the
blueprint.
works.
Now they got to push it.
Awesome. Guys, by the way, if you're watching this is live. You feel free to ask your questions. You can toss them into the chat. We get them all
Okay.
popping up into the chat room here. Here's a couple more correct, and this on midterm from James Blackburn. Guys, yeah, listen, I got to tell you, it can be a little frustrating, but I think I kind of feel like we're coming down to the finish line, right? Like I think from a federal perspective, from a local perspective, 38
Mhm.
states with a medical law. I mean, I think we're doing good. Okay, let's see where we are at. We are not on banking. No, we are we are at our big story for today. Brasco, this one kind of it takes the cake. It takes the cake. A couple of
Well,
guys
yeah.
in Madison, Wisconsin decided they were going to get smart and they were going to get around the fact that they didn't have legal weed. And so very simply, what did they do? They went and they created their own church.
Here is the one that I like the best today.
To most people, it's marijuana, but Jesse Schwark considers it a religious sacrament, part of the worship at this Rastafarian church in an old storefront near the UW-Madison campus. Its members use and distribute marijuana freely. In fact, it's really the only requirement.
We just have to agree that we all break bread and use this sacrament, cannabis.
It's the marijuana that's the key.
Well, certainly. As for the religion part of it, okay.
They don't try to hide the marijuana use here. In fact, they're very open about it, even having their paraphernalia and smoking right in the window for anyone on the street to see.
I can bless you up with one of these.
Anyone can just sign a card and become a church member and walk out with marijuana.
I stand with Rastafarian religion all the way.
And you're walking out with a couple of small joints.
Oh, yeah.
Schwark accepts donations, but doesn't require payment. This is no different than just a shop distributing marijuana.
Sounds like someone that will be selling it and also giving it to the public. Two things that we don't do.
We were unable to reach the city attorney for comment, but city officials have reportedly ordered the church's landlord to put a stop to the marijuana use. But Schwark argues that this is a fight for religious freedom.
Well, it's not even an argument. It's just it's a reality.
In Madison, I'm Kent Wainscott, WISN 12 News.
Thanks to WISN
smoke on that one.
TV12 in Milwaukee for the video there.
We thank them for that. So these two idiots, I'm sorry, they're idiots. They are idiots. They are everything about what they give cannabis users a bad name. They just do, right? Let me just bless you up with these two here, 3/4 of the way smoked joints. let me bless you with some roaches. So here's kind of where these guys ran into some issues, right? So you can go to that little corner store, which is their church.
Right.
There are no church services. There's no real
Not even studies, not even like
there's no prayer meetings because they don't pray like that. They pray that they don't get arrested when they walk out, I'm sure.
How about like even a chapel that has a couple of pews and has something in front where you could go
No, it's
pray
not a
at?
chapel. It's an old convenience store. Let's
Right,
call
right.
it what it
Nothing
is.
like that. Yes.
No, it's an old convenience store. Okay, and so straight up, these cats felt like they could adopt the Church of Rastafarianism, right? Like not wash their hair, grow some really long, right, and dread it out, and start slinging dope, right, for donations, right, and call it sacrament. Now, these guys are idiots, class A idiots. I have actually heard that there are people that use cannabis as a part of a religious sacrament, right? Let me give you a good example of that. Pernetter Komet. You can find more information at prntrkmt.org. Whew. That's a major mouthful there. But so the difference is between these two guys in a corner store dubbed church, Pernetter Komet actually has a theology behind it that goes back to ancient Egypt, right? It was a black slave religion that has moved forward over time, over many, many years. And so, ironically, I have seen people talk about using religion and in protecting themselves and the use of cannabis as a sacrament. Um, but like you could actually have a conversation with them about their religion and their belief system. There was nothing behind, absolutely nothing except the exchange of monetary value for sacrament.
Now, Wisconsin, much like Mark and James were talking about in the chat, Wisconsin is another state that doesn't have recreational or adult use or medical marijuana.
Correct. Correct. So
So they're
here's the
doing
irony,
this,
right? That
right?
guy in the story, he's walking there, he's looking at the bongs in the window, and he's like, what the right? Well, for
Yeah.
good reason, right? They got no law, right? They got nothing going on there, right? And so these guys figured that, and look, of course, I am all about, push 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 the government with respect to your rights, right? The government should not impede on our right to free speech and the right to our religions when there's something there, guys. Like we don't get to stand there and bullshit our way through it, right? Because like it can be seen through, right? You can be seen through, right? So provide some substance if you're actually gonna use religion to safely consume cannabis in states that don't have laws like that. You better actually be a part of a religion that you can articulate.
Well, okay, but then also they put the store together. Are they like adhering to like whatever the rules are for nonprofit or anything like that, so they can have that convenience store set up, so they can
So
let people in?
so apparently this is they filed the appropriate paperwork.
Yeah.
It got approved, right? And apparently their paperwork was buttoned up. So like kudos to them for getting something right. Whoever the hell reviewed this, uh, okay. But now here they are operating in a college town, big college town.
Yes.
And all the college kids are going down there.
Okay, but they couldn't have put it like okay, they could have made it a head shop, have a back room, and then do the whole sacrament thing or whatever, the whole church thing in the back, instead of putting it right as you walk in the door. Like you could have taken a couple more steps.
Yeah,
Then you don't even know
well,
what you're getting either, because who's growing this for them and where are they getting it themselves?
yeah. I don't know that even really mattered. You know what I mean? Like
Right, but that's I would think that too. Like, okay, so the kids they might not care. It's like they're not having to go to a corner or find somebody in school that's just like passing off dime bags. They're going to this place and then like, all right, let's maybe we can get something with that. I don't know.
and this coming, of course, from our resident Catholic, weed smoking Catholic. He's not a weed smoking Catholic, just
Sign of the cross.
for the record.
Thank you.
He's been offered a few times. So look, I think uh again, use wisdom. I mean, please, guys, if you're consuming cannabis, do it legally, and if you're doing it illegally, well, I got nothing for you.
No, but Wisconsin is trying to do the same thing like
Be
North Carolina.
careful.
They got a bill going. They're trying to get it legalized. So there's that
No,
too.
listen, and by all
Until then.
means, like I know what that is. Like I was out there in Arizona helping Arizona in two subsequent elections to get that through. That like you want to talk about a battle. It is a fight, guys, and you may not get it in the first time or the second, but it's coming. Everybody's going to get in one way or another. It's either going to come at the federal level, or you'll be one of those states that helps inch incrementally a little bit closer, so that the pressure continues to mount right at the
Yeah.
federal level. So, uh, all right. So, final thoughts here. The cannabis banking bill. For those of you, I mentioned this earlier. Looked like that thing had gotten nixed because it got ripped out of the National Defense Authorization Act, and everybody thought, "Wow, shit, safe banking is gone." Right? Oh, it's back. Safe banking is back. And we've got our fingers crossed. It has gotten where did they put it?
Oh,
Attached.
the American Competes Act.
Yes, this is for America competes for. If you don't know, it's meant to bolster semiconductor production with 52 billion in domestic aid. So they're tucking safe banking into that. Now the problem is and could be the very same thing that happened to it last time in the National Defense Authorization Act. The moment it gets into committee, they go in negotiating all these different sections, and it got pulled out of there. And they're fearful that in the Competes Act, it may get pulled out of it as well. So fingers crossed on that, guys. Hopefully, Safe's chances, will continue to, um, gain steam as it will, because it could have been dead and it is not. So, for those who are picking up that gauntlet and carrying it, for everybody out there doing large cash transactions and trying to bank in cash.
Oh, and the MSOs that want to get behind this and they want to start getting their business up and running. By the way, all the major stocks for the MSOs that are out there, they all went up nicely after the whole announcement. We're like, oh, it's getting added to that bill. Okay, let's go. Because the MSOs, that's what's coming down the line. Everybody's preparing. As soon as the Safe Banking Act is available, multi-state operators are going to go ahead and try to create expansion so they can branch, from state to state and go coast to coast. They want to be ready for coast to coast as quickly as possible.
Nobody realizes what's coming. The moment that it is okay and banks and financial institutions can do business, that pressure valve is going to just go, and the amount of business that's going to hit is just going to be unfathomable.
Yeah.
All right. We need to make a note today on Green Peak with Richard Zwicky. Jeff Trotter, he's the Chief Growth Officer and co-founder of Cannabis. And tomorrow on Plant Profits, Ankur Rungta, he's the co-founder and CEO of C3 Industries. Both these shows, pretty awesome. You're going to want to.
Can I give you a little bit of information about it? First of all, with the Regenibus story, they opened up a private equity impact investment fund. So they'll have $30 million to invest in startups and cannabis and hemp. That's what they talk about there with Jeff Trotter. And then Ankur, I actually interviewed, and I sent him over to Plant Profits because his background is amazing. First of all, his company's raised over $100 million of capital, employs 400 people, and they're working on cannabis production facilities and retail stores in various states, plus his background in film and TV production, because he got to work behind the movies such as John Wick 2, November Man, and Mother's Day. The guy has a production company called Nickel City Pictures. We learn about his background from there, and I was like, this guy does so much, and look at him coming into the industry now with all that background, like just work with the stars.
Yeah, gotta love it. Folks, that's going to do it.
That's really good stories to tell.
We're gonna say goodbye. We're gonna.
Thanks to all the commenters. Please keep doing that and come back for the next show.
Please do. If you enjoyed today's episode of Cannabis Radio Live, make sure that you like, share, and follow us. So anytime that we go live, you get notified and you can come back, hang out, and join us. Weigh in. Let us know what's on your mind. Maybe share a smoke. That's what Tuesday afternoon should be about, don't you think? Folks, that's going to do it for myself, Darren Babin, and Brasco on the radio. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys next week right here, same time, Cannabis Radio Live.